Good afternoon and welcome to Digital Thursday. My name is Heather Hickey and I'm here with the technology program team. I also have with me Sarah Roche, one of the tech coaches, and just behind me is Andy Quechin, the academic coordinator. So they are both here answering your questions. So you have a few options to ask those questions. You can click on the shared document link provided to you. You can use the hashtag DPChats if you are using Twitter or Yammer. And we'd be happy to have your questions or comments or sharing of ideas if you're doing something that we're not doing. We'd love to hear about it. So I'm just going to give just a couple of minutes here. I see some people just signing in now. So we'll just give you a minute and we'll get started. Great. So I'm just going to come out of here to a different screen so you can follow along. Okay. So today's topic, we are talking about student collaboration on digital platforms. And we continue to examine the skills and attributes of today's 21st century learners, and with a focus today on the idea of collaboration across networks. Digital collaboration has some direct links into our Catholic graduate expectations, and specifically the idea of collaborative contributors and effective communicators. So two really powerful skills that we can help embed into lessons that we do for our students. So we're going to start off with a web-based tool called Padlet. And Padlet is accessible at padlet.com. It's a great tool to use because it can be used on multiple different devices. So whether you're working on iPads or Dells or computers, or if students are bringing in their own devices. Essentially, Padlet is a virtual wall or bulletin board that allows students to post, somewhat like posting a Post-it note onto chart paper or a sticky. And it works great as far as being able to collaborate and save that documentation of those conversations. And it allows us to redefine the experience of collaboration by enabling students to add images, videos, links to documents, texts, and different multimedia platforms. I just want to remind you that you will have access to this video after the session is done. So feel free to follow along and watch, and we will show you a few tools, but you may choose to focus on one to get you started. And you can always rewatch the video at a later date if you're looking to examine those a little deeper. I'm just going to come in and show you what Padlet looks like. So we're going to start by opening up your internet browser. And you're going to go to the website padlet.com. So when you get here, you're going to notice if you're coming for the very first time, there's a button here that says sign up. So you'll have to click there, enter your email and information to create an account. So the teacher will create an account, the students don't need to. And then I'll come up to the top right-hand side and click login. And because I've been here before, I'm just going to enter in my information. And what you'll see down the middle here are all my saved Padlets. So they're all the boards I've used in the past. So it allows you to save them, which is great because you can come back and revisit them with students at various points. So up in the top right-hand side, you'll see new Padlet. And automatically it's going to generate this blank Padlet or bulletin board. Now to add a sticky to this space, you just double click anywhere. And you're going to see it's going to ask here for the title. So I usually have the students put their first name or initials here to identify themselves without putting their full name because it is a web-based program, so we'll keep their private information safe here. And they can also just type in here and add some text. And if you're using an iPad, it has the built-in speech-to-text feature in the keyboard. So they could also use it that way to generate that text. And as I hover over these images here, you'll notice that it gives me the option to add an attachment. So when I click there, there's a couple of choices. The first one is to add a link from the web. So anything on the web that you can copy and paste the link. So if you wanted to share a particular website or a picture, video, song, a document, anything like that. If you're familiar with Office 365 and how to create a share link, you could post one of those here as well. If I were using this in class, perhaps I would ask the students to go find an image that had more than 4 sides, a 4-sided shape. So they might open up a second tab. Sometimes they do that by saying File, New Tab. And once they do their internet search, perhaps they're going to come into images. Now, they might see one that they like. If they say Visit Image, and then if they right-click on that image, they're going to come down to where it says Copy Image Address. And then they can come back to the tab where the Padlet was, and then right-click and paste. Once they say Submit, it's going to generate that image that they found, and then they can say OK. And by clicking and dragging as the teacher, because I am the owner of the board, I can move those around. Their other option, when they want to add an attachment, is you'll see that there's a button here that says Upload. And again, this could be if they're using a device that they have stored files on, whether that's, again, another photo, video, an audio clip, a document that they've created. They're just going to say Choose File, and then they're going to choose anything that they've got loaded or saved. I'm just trying to find something I can upload here. There we go. Here's a nice image. And again, it's just going to generate a preview of that, and if they're satisfied, they'll say OK. And again, be able to drag that around. The other option is to take a photo. That option works really well if you're using a Padlet on mobile devices. So if you're on the Dell tablets or iPads, the students could walk around and take a particular photo. So again, if you're in primary, you might have them going on a shape walk. If I'm in junior intermediate, I might be having them taking pictures of angles or different features that they could take in the moment. So the great thing is that unlike using chart paper and Post-its, we're now redefining this experience by allowing them to add multimedia, which opens up a whole bunch of opportunities on uses for Padlet. So I'm going to show you a bunch of the options that you have. So over here on the right-hand side, you have all of these options in your toolbar here. And right at the bottom, you're going to see this one says Modify this Padlet. So when I click there, you'll notice it creates a sub-menu. And the first thing it generates is a title. So you can title your Padlet. You can also give a description or instruction in the description box. You'll also notice that it has some images here. And if I click on one, it'll put a little image right beside my title. I can choose to leave that blank. I can also choose to say add and upload my own photo if I have a particular one. Now, over underneath here, it says wallpaper. So when I click that, again, it generates some options. And when I click on any one of these, it's going to change the background. So just depending what you're purposes, there's a variety of options here. And again, at the very top, you'll see it says add your own. So if you had a particular image you would like to upload. And I'm going to go back to the toolbar here, down one where it says layout. You're going to notice that it gives you three options. It currently is in the first option, which is freeform, which allows you as the teacher to click and drag any of these around. So that's really great, particularly when you're maybe trying to collect thoughts or organize thoughts into groupings. The next option is stream, and that will simply create one on top of the other as they come in from students to kind of just organize those. And the last one is grid, which allows you to maximize the space that you have on the screen. Now, as you come down to the next one here where it says privacy, you're going to notice that there's a bunch of options here on how visible you want this Padlet to be. If you want it to be public or private. Now, the first couple of options here, the private and password protected, this is going to require an email address for coming in on this private option. The password protected will generate a password for you. I usually use what we call just a hidden link, which means it's not totally open to the public, but it'll be accessible by anyone I give this link to. And I'm going to show you where to get that link in a moment. Keeping in mind, this still is a web-based program, so what you're posting on out there is out there. So I don't post pictures of my students or put any private information in here. I don't normally go with the totally public one, but I do want to draw your attention down here at the very bottom is where it says moderate posts. If you choose this, check that button. What it's going to do is every time a student posts on the board, it's going to send it to the teacher first to approve and release that. So if you're worried about what your students might be posting or a particular students, you might decide to keep opening that up. So that will really depend on you and your students. You also can invite people by usernames and emails here. But because we're using them with students, we're just going to, sorry, I'm going to go back in there to privacy. Just create that link is what I usually like to do. Now I'm going to skip down to here where it says address. So if you click on that, this is where it's going to actually create that link. So you can kind of right click and copy that. It says copy link. And then you can go ahead and paste that out or share that out however you want to share that. Or you could simply write it down and students could type it in there as well. If you're familiar with how to share documents in Office 365 with your students, you might choose to paste that in a shared document and they can just go in there and click it. It also allows you the option to copy your board. So that can come in handy if you want to kind of reuse the board you've created. So you can copy this with posts or without posts. So if you were creating multiple boards for different groups, perhaps in your class, maybe you have different group inquiries going on and you wanted each group to have their own board, you could just copy it without the posts and regenerate it and rename it. The other thing is if you want to copy it with posts to create a save it for yourself, sometimes what teachers like to do is use the same board over and over so that the students keep using the same link. So I can copy this with the post to save a copy. And then what I can do is come down to where it says delete. And then I could clear all the posts. And that way, I'm just going to go ahead and say delete those. That way, if you wanted to use it, some teachers like to use this as a homework board. So what they do is they kind of go ahead and clear the posts, and each day they just add the homework to the board so that the students just always have that same link. So just another option for you. And as I click out of there, I just want to show you here where it says Share Export. If I were to click there
And you'll see right down at the bottom, there's also a QR code. And with the QR code, if you're familiar with how to use those, if the students are using mobile devices, perhaps their own devices or the iPads, they can scan that code and it'll take them right into the Padlet. So no need to have to write down the link. So those are some of the basic features of using your Padlet. And when you come back up to the top where it says Homepage, it's going to take us back out to my saved Padlets here. And what I want to show you is I created a board with some examples on how you might choose to use this in your classroom. So again, we just kind of were showing you the searching with the URLs and pasting them in. So that comes in handy if you're trying to find particular images or have them go looking for a particular thing for a Minds On perhaps. And you're noticing as I click on these once, they enlarge, so you can kind of explore those. Another way I've seen this used is to create more like a shared lesson. So the teacher has created images with terms, and together as a shared lesson, they were going to match those together and drag one on top of the other. So sometimes you can use it like that. You could have students generate book reviews or respond to articles or different prompts that you have. I've seen it used for Earth Week, where they all go in and make a pledge for the environment, an environmental pledge. Here we have the idea of using it to create book reviews. And again, here the students have chosen a book and found an image on the internet and written a short little review. This was used, each student chose a parable, and they chose an image to represent that parable and gave a short summary of it. So that was a nice way to bring that into your religion. Here was a digital citizenship lesson on how to search things or good search engines to use. So the students all were posting their thoughts, and the idea was to co-create success criteria with them. In primary, here's an example of how it was used as shared writing with grade 1s. So they were asked to add a note about one thing they like, and then the teacher was using that as an opportunity for some shared writing, which was great. And here we have just a few different ideas, using it, putting persuasive writing prompts, creating storyboards. You might have a wonder board before or after a field trip or an event. You can use it to post or give out an assignment. You could have students entering feedback on a presentation for their peers. You might create a wall of honor. You might collaborate with another class. So because it is a link, you could create contact with another class within your school or out of your school and kind of interact that way, which is a nice way to bring your students a little bit more global, and also allow students to showcase their work and do reflections. And lastly, if you're stuck for ideas, I just Googled ideas for Padlet in the classroom, and I came across this image that just had a whole variety of different things, from posting student responses, using as homework boards, brainstorming, reflections, all kinds of ideas. So basically, that is the basics of Padlet. So you can see there's such a variety of ways to use it. If you're just beginning, I would encourage maybe just to have the kids pose questions or do a little reflection. Keep it really simple before you start experimenting, but no doubt the students are happy to click away and figure out how to upload those things as well.
Okay, so now we will move forward to just the idea of collaboration. So I just have a short little video for you. Again, please don't hesitate if you have any questions or comments or feedback for us to go ahead and share that. And we'll take a look at this.
The teacher doesn't just throw control to the students and say, let me know what you figure out. She really has to plan ahead of time. She has to figure out how to group the students so that they're the most productive. She has to scaffold their work. So she provides hints or clues or templates, worksheets if necessary, to kind of show them what they need to do first, what they might consider doing next, just to teach them how to work together. You know, teamwork is not something that comes naturally, especially for younger students. They really need to learn how to do that.
So we would have a anchor or a set of expectations about what kind of language would be used, what the roles and responsibilities are for each person in that group, and what are the processes for asking further questions or clarification.
So you serve one trail mix and give out stickers. I do two trail mixes. I'm doing. Bryce does the questions, and then I do the stickers. Other stickers.
So when students are working on projects in different groups, it's difficult to get to all of them at once, and they may really need you. So my first strategy for that is teaching a child how to use each other, teaching them how to talk to one another. And so here we call it accountable talk. So what are ways that you talk with each other when you disagree? How do you do that in a respectful manner to continue to collaborate with each other and keep the project moving? Also, I do a lot of tabletop directions. If I have short directions that they need to get through, or a checklist, or an agenda, they have to get through so many things by the end of the day or the end of the week, instead of raising their hand and asking me and I have to run back and forth, it's right there in front of them.
So it's really the art of facilitation. The teacher would not be at the front of the room directing instruction, but instead she is choreographing instruction. So she's like a conductor, and she would go to all the different tables and groups to ensure that each group is working in harmony to achieve that goal at the end.
So when we're looking at digital collaboration, we're talking about using the collaboration skills that we've already taught in class. Like in the video, they mentioned the idea of accountable talk. So we really want to build those skills with our students so they know how to interact in a positive and respectful way. Sometimes that means maybe giving them some sentence starters or strategies. Then when we move into that digital platform, it allows us to enhance that experience by students being able to add in those multimedia links to videos, pictures, documents, something that they wouldn't traditionally be able to do on just a Post-it note. So a few things that we want to consider when we're thinking about using the digital collaboration platforms. First and foremost is the idea of digital citizenship. And we really want to build in those skills with students. So in just a moment, I'm going to show you a resource that will help you start those conversations. Also, the idea of defining the workspace that they're in, showing them how to use that space effectively. The idea of their digital footprint. So really reinforcing with the students that when we enter something online, it is permanent, even after we delete it. So the expectations of what is appropriate and inappropriate, and what the outcome of that could be. And then ideally, like any good lesson, that we really want to set a purpose for the collaboration. So at times that could be for knowledge sharing, at other times it could be for peer feedback, having them reflect, set goals, or pose questions. So when we're looking at the idea of digital citizenship, one of the resources I like to go to is osapac.ca, which is a ministry site. And they've taken digital citizenship and separated it into 4 categories: critical thinking, credit and creation, communication, and protection. So I'm just going to come out of here and actually take you to that site so you can see what that looks like. Again, osapac.ca. So when you come here, you'll notice up at the very top there's a tab that says projects, and under projects is digital citizenship. So I'm just going to go ahead and click there, and you'll see those 4 categories we mentioned. Ideally, these would be topics that you would embed into lessons you're already doing. particularly inquiry. If you're working with inquiry, there's some really nice direct links to that, especially when we look at this first category of critical thinking. So we're talking about helping students use effective search strategies when they're looking for information online, looking for credible resources and helping them vet websites and data that they find. And then the idea of how to evaluate and reflect critically on information and sites that they do find, and applying that directly into their inquiry model. Now, when I click on here, I'm just going to show you that it's going to open up a tab that offers us the different divisions. So as I click on one of those, and then underneath resources, you'll notice there's a variety of lessons and interactive sites and videos and lesson plans that have been vetted for you to help you have those conversations and embed that into your lessons. So a great stop when you're looking for some digital citizenship resources. And as we examine just the other categories, we're talking about creation and credit. So the idea of how to give credit and not plagiarize and follow copyright. We're also looking at effective communication skills, which is really important when we're bringing them into a digital collaborative space. So again, communicating appropriately according to their audience and contributing positively and creating that positive reputation. So again, coming down and looking at some of your resources available here. And that last category is protection and privacy. So just ensuring that all of our student information remains private and on secure sites. So a great place to start. So the next tool we're going to take you into is inside of Office 365. And today we're going to show you how to create a collaborative group and how you can share files with your group. So if you have not yet logged on to Office 365, if you're at school, you will simply type DP Cloud in the web browser, just like when you're checking your webmail. If you're at home, it's dpcloud.dpcdsb.org, and staff and students can access this from home. And you will use the same logins that you log into school computers with now to get yourself into that site. And also just to make you aware, if you haven't been in here yet, that your students have an email address and you as staff now have a secondary email address. So for students, it's their first name and last name at student.dpcdbsb.org. And for staff, it's the same. You'll probably recognize that from your original email. And we're just adding in this staff dot in front. And your passwords remain the same as they are now. So what I'm going to do is take you into Office 365 and show you where you can locate those. And we're going to start by creating a group today. And we're going to do that when we log in by clicking on this little icon here that says People. So I'm going to go ahead and log in so you can see what that looks like. Now I have it bookmarked, so if it's your first time going there on your own device, you probably will bookmark it just to make it a little easier. And when you come in, staff and students will see the same homepage here. And again, I'm going to show you here how to create a group under People. So I'm going to click that. And a group is a nice space to start collaborating with students. It's in Office 365, which is board-supported software. So it's a nice safe spot to have those conversations. So first, to use a group, you have to create one. So over on the left-hand side here, you're going to see where it says New. And there's a little plus sign there beside that. So I'm going to go ahead and click that plus sign. And you'll notice on the right-hand side that it's going to ask us to choose a name for our group. you can choose a name that you like appropriate. What you can see is as I type that, it came up in red here and it says not available. And that's because I've already created a group with that name. So you have to continue to find a name until it tells you it's available. And that's just to prevent two people having the same group and having those mixed up. And you can add a description in this box here. That will become helpful when you have many groups on the go and you're trying to decide which group is which that you've created. So originally I probably would start by creating a group with my whole class, but at other times you may create groups with smaller groups of students depending on what you're doing. Now this is pretty important. Underneath here it says privacy. When you click that, it gives you two options. By default, it's set to public. So if you leave it on public, anyone in Dufferin Peel will be able to access your group. Your other option is private, and that means only members that you approved and add into your group will have access to your group. So more than likely, I would think that would be the choice you would create. So once you have done that, you're going to come back up to the top here where it says create and click that. So now it's going to ask you who you would like to add into your group. So this is where you can add students or staff members, and there's two ways to do that. First, you can start just by typing their name. So I'm going to type in Sarah's name here. Because I've added her before, her name pops up quite quickly, but it will search through the database. Once you see the person you're looking for, you'll just click it, and then you'll notice that she's ready to be added into the group. You can do the same for students. Alternatively, you can use employee numbers or student numbers. I encourage you to use student numbers to do this. It seems to be able to search through the database a little faster with the student number, but it also prevents you from adding the wrong student. So there's been cases where there are two students in the board with the exact same name and the wrong one gets put into a group. So by using their student numbers, you'll be sure that you have the exact student that you're looking for. So once you're satisfied with who is in your group, you're going to go ahead and say add back at the top, and it's going to go ahead and generate your group. And it's going to start you off just with this group page here. Now I want you to notice, first of all, I can see the two members of my group here. Now if I click on where it says two members on the right hand top corner, it's going to come over and show me who's in my group. So if you had added your whole class, you should be able to see all of the students. And you'll also notice that there's an icon here to add members. So if for some reason you forgot a student or a student moves into your class, you can continue to add them. What you should know up front is you cannot change the name of your group and you cannot change the settings from public to private after your group has been created. You can delete a group, but you won't be able to change those settings. So you'll want to make sure you decide that up front. So what I'm going to do is take you into one of the groups that we have some things in to show you how you can now use this space. So I've created a group here. And you're going to notice you have some options on the little toolbar here. So the first one is conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And what you notice is there's actually a thread of conversations. So you can actually post to your students here. And I can type, I can right click and use any of those features there. If I wanted to paste in a link, if I wanted to add a picture, again, here's an option for link and picture here. So you might have an assignment or a rubric or an article or something that you would like them to be reading. So you could click that attach button and you could choose, I'm just looking for one of the documents here, and say next. And it's going to ask you, do you want to attach it as a OneDrive file or as a copy? And because we're working online, I'm going to stick to the OneDrive file. And that means it's going to store it in your OneDrive cloud space that is part of Office 365. So what you can see now, I can put some instructions and I can actually add a link there as well. And once I say send, that's going to be right into the news thread. So some teachers like to use this to post homework. You'll also notice right beside where it says conversations, there's a little button that says calendar. So if you click on there, you're going to notice that you have a class calendar here. And you can see I've attached some homework here. So if I click there, I can actually click on the conversation and give some instructions down here on this box. So if you double click onto the calendar, you'll notice that I can add anything I like here. And you have all kinds of options of how you want to set that in here. I like to make sure that the reminder is set to none. You may choose to like to have a reminder, which sends out an email reminding you of that particular event. You may choose to do that if it's a particular, you know, maybe you're collecting a field trip form or something that has a cutoff deadline. You might choose to actually set a reminder for that. Along the top here, you'll notice you can add attachments. So if I actually wanted to upload that file right here into the calendar for the students to get their homework or whatever it is that I'm giving them, I can attach it right in. And under where it says categorize, you can actually choose different colors. So I might choose to always put homework in yellow so that stands out for the students. And it kind of highlights that down here. And then once I click save, that'll actually appear on the calendar, which is there. And you can see you could create different colors to stand out for different purposes on your class calendar. Likewise, there's also a button here that says files. So the one thing about Office 365 to know is that sometimes there's multiple ways to do the same task. So I've showed you how you can put a calendar in your conversation, or you can put a file in your conversation. You can also put a file directly into the homework link that I've added onto the calendar. But I also can upload files just under files. So if I click that, it's going to generate any files that I've attached to this group. And you'll see here there's an upload button. So if I have a particular thing I'd like to upload, often teachers might take pictures of anchor charts or instructions or tasks from the day and upload those right in for the students to make reference to at a later time. You also can just click this new button and you can choose a Word document, and you could put some instructions right in there, which then would the students would be able to access here as well. So you do have many options for sharing files within this collaborative space with your students. Also to note, you'll see there's 3 little dots here. Kind of in Microsoft Word, those 3 dots means more options. So if I click that, you can come back to your conversations, calendars, your group members, or files, and do that. There is an option for Notebook as well. But I would say if you're just getting started how to use that, perhaps revisit that at a later time. It's like a virtual binder that you can add into your group as well. So you can feel free to explore that if it's something that interests you. I also just want to take a moment to pause and just highlight on the sign-in sheet, the original link that you received today. If you come all the way down to the bottom, you're going to notice that we've included the link to the YouTube channel where this will be saved. So I suggest at some point that you might actually want to copy and paste that and save it. And that will allow you to come back and rewatch not only this video, but all the videos from our Tuesday and Thursday sessions. So you have the ability to perhaps start small and choose to try one thing. And then when you're ready to go a little further, you might want to come back and rewatch the video or look at a different video that perhaps you weren't part of. So I just want to now show you that you have the same option, just like we were talking about in groups. We have 2 options to use: Microsoft PowerPoint and Microsoft Word. So I'm going to go ahead and open up PowerPoint and show you how you can perhaps share that into your group that you created. So whenever you're in Microsoft Office 365, you'll notice in the top left-hand corner, there's a little icon that looks like a waffle. And if you click that, it gives you the main menu. So I'm going to go ahead and come into PowerPoint Online. Some of you may be familiar with using PowerPoint already. And I do have some presentations you can see here on the left that I've already created. So I'm going to open up one we've already done. And you'll notice that it's opening without any toolbars or options. But right here where it says Edit Presentation, if you click that, it gives you two options, to edit in PowerPoint or to edit in PowerPoint Online. So I'm going to stay on the online version. You can open this up if you have PowerPoint installed on your device. You can open it that way as well with a few more functions. But for what we're doing, PowerPoint Online works sufficiently. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And we talked about earlier the idea of defining workspace for students. So this particular example, the students were working on some research for an inquiry project we were doing on. And we wanted to kind of pause and have the students do some reflecting and sharing about what is working in their research. So what we did is we simply assigned a slide to each group. And we simply asked them to share 2 facts they learned in their research, 1 question, that new question they have, and 1 website they used that they found useful while they were researching. And the idea was that we would then visit this as a whole class and go through each slide as a consolidation to that knowledge sharing. So I just copied that over and over for each group. And what that does is define the space a little bit for them so they're not typing over top of each other. I also want you to notice that there's a little speech bubble here. And the reason for that is because I've left a comment for this group. And I can do that simply by clicking into the slide and then coming up where it says Insert and then over to Comment. And you can see a little comment dialog comes up here. I can leave a comment for that student or that group on that slide. And they can actually click in and take a look, and they can actually reply to that comment as well. I've asked them a question, they could come in and reply, and we could have a little side dialogue going on for these groups. So a great way to kind of interact and give some descriptive feedback to your students, or prompt their thinking by posing more questions to them. So once I've set this up and I want to get this to my students, you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, there's a button that says Share. And once I click that, it's going to ask me, who would you like to share this with? So just like when we created groups, I can enter in names here. But because I want to share this with my entire class, I'm going to actually type in the name of that group that I just created. And it will come up, and I can click that. And to the right-hand side, you'll notice that there's a little drop-down menu. You have 2 choices. You can edit or you can view. If you want the students to be able to interact, you're going to have to leave it on edit. At other times, you might just have a presentation that you'd like them to see as a lesson, and they can only view. So you'll make that decision. And then you will say share. And that will now be shared back into the groups that we created earlier. So they again would come back up to this little waffle icon, and they would come back into people. And they should be able to then click on their group and files and be able to see that in here. Also, you'll notice here on the top left-hand side, there's a little option here that says shared with me. And if they click that, anything that's been shared with them by other users, they would be able to find in this list here. You can see I have quite a few here. So just a quick option for doing that. And you can also do the same features in the Microsoft Word Online. So just as we get ready to move forward, I just am going to share a quick video with you on the voice of the active learner.
Do you recognize me? Very soon I will be your student.
Oh, sorry. Let me try that again.
Do you recognize me?
Very soon I will be your student. But I will not always sit in your classroom. I will not take out a pencil or open a textbook. You grew up with books. I read from a laptop, an iPad, a smartphone. I use a keyboard more than a pen. I'm a digital native, an active learner. Why carry just a textbook when my iPad connects me to the world? I want to know things all the time, and right away. Maybe the best price for cool shoes, or where to hike the Himalayas. To learn, I look online, because the classroom isn't enough for me. Not when I can see faces, hear voices, and chat with people on the other side of the world. I want to learn about Chinese history from someone in Beijing. My school has to keep up with me, not the other way around. I have more and more choices. When you were my age, no one had heard of a charter school. No one could imagine a virtual school. But it's projected that by 2019, half of all high school courses will take place online. I use mobile devices to connect with friends, classmates, and teachers. And when I'm more connected, I'm more interested. I don't buy music at a store, or movies or books. I get them instantly online. And when they excite me, I share with friends. That's how I want my education to be. I need a degree even more than my parents. I know it, and so do my friends. But will I be prepared? Public grade schools are under huge budget pressures, and traditional college is increasingly unaffordable. I don't want crushing debt. If I can Google the best choice for cool shoes, rest assured I'll find the best choice of education, like 2-year institutions and online courses where students like me have grown to be 6 million strong. And when I'm older, I want to keep learning. Do you recognize me? Very soon, I will be changing the world. But I need you. If you're ready to help me, I'll find you. But it's your challenge to keep up with me. I'm a digital native, an active learner. Listen to me. Help me. Together, we can create the future.
Okay, and I'm just going to come back here and join you for a moment. So hopefully today you were able to take away something that you think you might be able to try to get started with your students with digital collaboration, sorry. We understand that everybody's at different starting points, so we're trying to get some feedback on how we can cater these sessions to make them really useful for you. So that original page where you access the link, down at the bottom, there's an exit ticket. And we would sincerely appreciate if you took 2 or 3 minutes just to fill that out. There's just 3 short questions, and that will help us gear the future sessions. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found something useful, and have a wonderful Thursday.